Congratulations! You have just purchased a truly remarkable sewing machine, the New Home Memorycraft 7000. We're about to show you how easy it is to use and how you can create an endless array of beautifully crafted garments. But first, let's thread the machine. Place the cotton reel on the spool pin. Place the spool holder against the thread spool. Insert the thread inside the groove and follow the broken line. Thread the bobbin, then push it to the right. The words bobbin winding on the pattern monitor screen. Bobbin and pin holder. Insert so that the thread winds off in an anti-clockwise direction between the tension plates, as indicated by the diagram on the bobbin cover. To thread the needle, simply follow the diagram on the faceplate door. Finally, set the tension control to automatic, or, for fine fabrics, the lightweight setting. For special effects, use the manual tension setting. You're now ready to sew with your new Memorycraft 7000. We'll start with some basic stitches. Straight sewing in the left needle position is selected every time the MC7000 is switched on. To select center needle position, press the pattern selector once. There are 15 needle positions which can be manually selected for straight sewing. Press the plus or minus on the stitch width dial. The display comes on. By pressing plus, you can move the needle to the right, and by pressing minus, you can move the needle to the left. Sew along a seam and stop. The needle automatically stops in the up position. If you want the needle in the fabric, press needle button down. When you stop sewing, the needle will be in your work. To make the needle return to the up position, press the needle position button again. At the end of a seam, you can press the reverse button to backstitch. Or to secure the stitching, you can press the locking stitch button and the MC7000 will automatically tie off for you. The machine will only reverse while the button is depressed. If you are sewing a number of seams, you can select the Auto Lock Straight Stitch, which will automatically reverse and sew forward at the beginning of a seam. At the touch of the reverse button, it will tie off at the end of a seam. For a triple straight stitch, press the button once to select the triple straight stitch. This stitch is ideal for any area where strength and durability are required, such as the crutch on a pair of trousers or under the arms of shirts. Or it can be used to seam knit fabrics, as it will allow the fabric to stretch without the stitching coming apart. It can also be used for top stitching. For outline stretch stitch, select outline stretch stitch. Set tension to lightweight. This stitch is especially suited to seam lightweight fabrics such as tricot and chiffons. The outline stitch will eliminate puckering and allow the seam to be pressed completely flat. By setting the stitch width to 3 and sewing along so that the right-hand stitch falls over the edge of the fabric, you can seam and overcast at the same time. Zigzag has a preset length of 1.5 millimeters and a width of 5 millimeters. As with all patterns, you can alter the width and length to suit you. Simply by pressing the width plus or minus and the length plus or minus. All measurements are in millimeters. The multiple zigzag stitch sews on patches and repairs tears on various fabrics. Adjust the stitch length to 0.3 and sew along the tear. When you get to the end, touch the reverse button and the machine will automatically tie off and stop. Select the knit stitch and sew your seam allowing for the seam. We suggest 1.5 centimetres. Cut away the excess fabric and you will have a strong seam that will stretch and stop the fabric from fraying. It can also be used to attach ribbing to a garment. For over-edge seam, select over-edge stitch. Press Program Checking button P and on the pattern monitor screen you will see the correct foot to be used. In this case, over-edge foot C. To change feet, lift the presser foot and press the red button behind the foot. The sewing foot will drop off and can be stored in the top of the machine. Each foot is identified by a letter. Select the correct foot, place it under the presser bar and lower the presser bar until the foot clips on. This overlock stitch can be used in both woven fabrics, adding strength, and knit fabrics, giving elasticity. It is also ideal where a narrow seam is needed. Place the fabric up against the black sewing guide and sew your seam. The durable edge zigzag uses the same foot. This overlock stitch is excellent on woven fabric such as linens, gabardines and denim, giving a strong seam and securing the edge of the material. Ideal for woven fabrics which tend to fray. Next, select the overlock stitch. Press Program Check button P. Apply correct foot. Sew along the fabric with the edge up against the sewing guide. This stitch is similar to a commercial overlock stitch and will give your seams a professional look. For woven fabrics, there's a blind hem stitch. Press Program Check button P and attach foot G. To hem a garment on the MC7000, hold the fabric with the wrong side facing you. Fold the excess down away from you. Then fold the edge of the fabric back up so that it extends about 7 millimeters from the fold. Place the fabric under the presser foot with the fold against the sewing guide. Sew along so that the left-hand stitch goes through the fold. If it does not, increase the stitch width until it stitches through the fold. The MC7000 can automatically darn any torn materials. Using Program Check button P, select the correct foot, which is the J sliding foot. For extra strength, place a piece of fabric under the hole, stitch back the desired length, then press the reverse button. Hold your foot down until the MC7000 automatically ties off the stitch. To reinforce the darn from right to left, press the turnover memory button, T. The MC7000 will stitch back over the same size darn from right to left. Next, we do buttonholes, starting with the decorative keyhole buttonhole. Select Keyhole Buttonhole. You can see on the pattern monitor screen that this is a sensor buttonhole, which requires the sensor foot N. Fit the sensor foot by removing the thumb screw and shank. Screw on the sensor foot with the button holder to the rear. Open the slide to the desired length, or if you have a button, place it in the button holder and close it up to the correct length. Depress the foot control until the machine stops. To repeat the buttonhole, press the memory button as shown on the pattern monitor screen. For a rounded buttonhole, again using the sensor foot N, select the rounded buttonhole and sew until machine stops. Press memory to repeat rounded buttonhole. Now a normal buttonhole. Select normal buttonhole. Sew until machine stops. Press memory to repeat normal buttonhole. For a corded buttonhole, hook a filler cord around the pin at the rear of the sensor foot. Draw the cord under the foot and secure it in the tabs on the front of the foot. Sew a buttonhole over the top of the cord. When completed, cut the sewing threads, then pull the left end of the filler cord and cut the excess away. To cut buttonholes open, use the buttonhole cutter and go from the end to the middle and from the other end to the middle, being careful not to cut the threads. Remember, you can alter the width and density of the stitching on all buttonholes using the stitch width and length buttons. This allows you to create a buttonhole to suit all types of fabrics and styles of garments. Now we look at auto buttonholes. Select normal buttonhole. The screen shows sensor buttonhole, sensor foot N. Press button again. Screen shows auto buttonhole, sliding foot J. Remove sensor foot and replace the sewing foot shank. Then clip on sliding foot J. Stitch back the desired length using the arrow and red marks as a guide. Then press the M button and stitch forward to the first red mark. Press memory button again and sew the bar tack until the machine stops. Now the size of your choice is programmed. To repeat, just depress the foot control until the machine stops. To sew on buttons, tape the button over its correct position. Select the zigzag pattern. Move the drop feed lever. Adjust the stitch width to 3, depending on the spacing of the holes. Rotate the balance wheel by hand once first, to ensure you have the correct stitch width, and adjust if necessary. If the holes are further apart, increase the stitch width. Then press memory, memory, locking stitch, memory. Depress the foot control until the machine stops. To repeat, just depress foot control. Remember to move drop feed lever to the up position after you have finished. A bar tack is used to reinforce the end of a seam or as a decorative finish. First, select pattern. Fit correct foot by pressing program checking button. Sew back to the required length a maximum of 2 centimeters. Then press the reverse button and wait for the machine to stop. To repeat the same size bar tack, press the M button and sew. Remember, you can alter the width and length. Now let's get into some creative sewing. Pin tucking. This can be used as a decorative finish on most types of fabrics using the blind hem foot G. Select straight stitch in the left needle position. Fold the fabric with the right side up and place it against the black guide. Straight stitch along the fold and repeat for further pin tucks. Smocking is a decorative finish which can be applied whenever gathers are used. For example, on children's garments, or you can smock a yoke on a blouse. Using a lightweight fabric, gather the material using a straight stitch with a stitch length of 5 and thread tension of manual 2. Sew straight lines about 1 centimetre apart over the area to be smocked. Pull the bobbin threads and gather the material evenly. Sew over the gathered areas with decorative stitches. Then remove the gathering stitches. Now for cording. Draw your design on the fabric and with a straight stitch sew over a strand of cord. You can embroider various patterns using different types of cord such as pearl cotton, knitting yarn or embroidery floss. The effects can be very attractive. Now clip on the cording foot H. Place cords in the grooves and select the decorative pattern. Stitch over the cords, slowly and smoothly. A shell tuck can be used to add an elegant finish on a blouse or lingerie. It can be used to finish neck openings or create scalloped tucks. Use foot F, select pattern and press turn over memory button T. This button will turn any pattern over and put it into memory. Fold the fabric over and stitch along the fold so that the right hand stitch falls over the edge of the fold. Let's talk about memory lock patterns for a moment. These patterns are called memory lock patterns because the threads are automatically locked at the beginning and end of each pattern. To sew a crocodile, select the pattern, press Program Checking button P and attach the correct foot. Depress the foot control until the sewing machine stops. To alter the size of these patterns, adjust the stitch width to 5 and sew. You can also combine patterns. First, select a pattern and press the memory button. Select another pattern and press memory. As you can see, they are combined on the pattern monitor screen. You can combine up to 31 patterns at one time. Once a combination is selected, it will keep sewing that combination until you stop. Patterns can be combined and used to decorate garments, craft work, and for embroidery. When programming a design, if you select an incorrect pattern, press the clear button C, and only the last pattern will be cleared. To program a combination of letters, for example, a name, select the first letter. The red light appears on the Letter Style Selection button. This indicates that you have chosen block letters and numbers. If you wish to change it to lowercase letters, press the Letter Style Selection button again so that the green light appears. If you want script letters and numbers, press the button again and a red light will appear next to the script letter A. For block letters, after selecting a letter and its style, press the memory button. The MC7000 will stop sewing automatically after the last letter or number. Let's do an elongated satin stitch. Select one of the satin stitches which have the line around the button. These are the only stitches which can be elongated. Then press the elongation button and L1 will appear on the stitch width display. You can alter the size of the pattern from L1 to L5. Just press the elongation button to increase the size. After L5, it will return to L1. Once you have selected a size, press the memory button M. You can alter the size of each elongation pattern before you combine them together. This is ideal when sewing scalloped edges or doing embroidery. Remember, you can also alter the width and length of these stitches before they are elongated. Applique is a technique for stitching fabric shapes to other fabrics. The most common stitch used is the satin stitch or close zigzag. Using satin stitch foot F, set stitch length 0.3 and width 3. You can alter the stitch width and length while sewing to create the desired effect. Draw a design, then select a stitch and sew over the shape. Change thread color and stitch length and width to create the desired design. There are various other stitches which can also be used. These craft stitches are used to fill in areas and highlight and outline patterns. Regular cleaning of your sewing machine is recommended. After sewing, switch off and unplug the machine. Remove the needle plate screw on the left-hand side of the needle with the large screwdriver supplied. Lift up the bobbin holder and remove it. Clean the bobbin holder. Then the hook race area. Replace the bobbin holder, needle plate and screw. As you have seen, there is no end to what you can achieve with your Memory Craft 7000. Further ideas are highlighted in your instruction book. Proper care will ensure many years of reliable and creative sewing with your new home Memory Craft 7000.